Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sujata Parashar. I am a Delhi-based novelist and a writer. Just landed an hour or so back here. And with me on my extreme right is Rohini Rajagopal. And in the middle, we have Lakshmipradha Srinivasan. And as already shared with all of you, the title of this particular session is Family Matters. Now, a serious topic. So I intend to start with a joke. I know we have only 30 minutes, so without further ado, the joke first. A young boy asks his dad, how were people born? His dad replies, Adam and Eve have children. They grow up, become adults, they have children, and so on and so forth. He runs to his mom and asks the same question. The mom tells him that we were monkeys and we evolved and became who we are today. He goes back to his dad and says, you lied. And that's when the dad's repartee, he comes back across saying that your mom, she is talking about her side of the family. So that's what families are all about, right? So diving right in now and getting on with the conversation, a hearty welcome to both of you once again. Now my first question is a common one for both of you. This is about the titles of your book. You may like to maybe perhaps show the copies of your book that you're holding to the audience. The question is about the titles. Both of you, in both your cases, your works are based on personal experiences. Both books have intriguing titles that are quite provocative. Yours, Rohini, is titled, What's a Lemon Squeezer Doing in My Vagina? And Lakshmi, yours is called Delicate Darlings. I know the stories within that book is anything but delicate, right? So how did you talk a bit about the books and how you came upon, how you came to write them, but also how did you choose the titles, your respective titles? Would you like to go first? Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much, Sujata, for moderating this discussion, and thanks also to the Bangalore Lit Fest for bringing together this community of readers and writers. To the title of my book. So this title actually describes an encounter with the speculum. The speculum is an instrument that is used in gynec procedures. And it looks suspiciously similar to the stainless steel lemon squeezer that is found in most of our kitchens. And when I was describing that encounter, this is the line that popped up in my head, what's a lemon squeezer doing in my vagina? And I thought this line does a good job of communicating the sense of outrage and the horror and the intrusion that I experienced while at the receiving end of this procedure. So it made it to the book, and it also became the title of the book. Ever since the book came out, I was always aware of the provocative nature of the title, and ever since the book came out, I have been made aware multiple times about how scandalous a title this is. However, this is a title that is true to the tone and to the content of the book. It's not something that has been arbitrarily placed on the cover which has nothing to do with the book, and just to grab attention or provoke the reader into giving a certain reaction. So this is a book that talks about reproduction, fertility, the female body, and it's not possible to talk about these subjects without using the appropriate terms for the female anatomy. And also, I think it sets the tone for the narration that is to follow in the book. So this is, at least I've tried, a very direct, straightforward, plain telling of things as they are. And this title sets the tone for that. There isn't an attempt to minimize or to euphemize or put some kind of soft focus on these subjects that are not always spoken about in society. So for this reason, I went with this title for this book.
Great title, I must say. Lakshmi, your response.
Thanks Sujata and Rohini, and thanks Bangalore Literature Festival for giving me this opportunity. So coming to the title part, as she already figured it out, it's all about the children. The book is all about some collection of short stories, 4 short stories in particular, and it talks about children and their perspectives of parenting and how society influenced them. So it's basically, the trigger was based on my own experiences since childhood. Lot of different experiences I've had, not so good experiences, very different experiences, very challenging experiences, very tricky experiences, which has molded me into a bigger, challenging, very strong, determined person. So I thought, those things are very vital, which is helping me in my life. So I would like to share those as part of my experience to many of the people who are struggling with a similar kind of challenges. So that's where I brought in this collection of short stories. And as the name suggests, it particularly focuses on the sensitive part of the children, the tender feelings of the children, their curiosity, their inquisitiveness, and the environment that affects them, which leads to a lot of repercussions with respect to their lives. So it's a mix of nice aspects as well as the challenging aspects, and ultimately how what drives them into the positive direction. So that is the major part of those stories. So that's exactly the reason the delicate part came into the title, and the darlings are representatives of children who are close to our heart.
Thank you. Lakshmi, I'll continue with you. Your first story is about this little girl called Dia, who is denied opportunity because of her, her physical appearance. And you've mentioned in the book that some of the stories are based on your personal childhood experiences, and this being one of them. Um, can you recall an incident that left an impact on you and, sort of, it was like a challenge that you took, and those who snubbed you, or for that matter, they sort of did not believe in you, finally came around to clapping for you and cheering you? Any such incident from childhood?
Yeah. So thanks for this question, Sujata, because a lot of instances that has happened, because every bit of uh, whatever I get into first gets into a negative mode where, this is not for you, this is not something that you can participate, or this is not something that you can try. So that gives me a little more push to move forward and try to attempt that, because I've been brought up with that kind of an attitude. Never give up. Whatever it comes, you just have to, if you are willing to try, you have to push yourself and go ahead. So as a one similar situation I have faced is my college admission. I had gone through the common entrance exam, and I came up with a rank, and I got through a dental seat. I missed my MBBS by one seat. So I got into the counseling room, and then there was a process where the set of panel was, sitting. A team of doctors were evaluating our the certificates and everything. So the dean of the college, it's a government college, so he was in the middle, and the moment I entered that room, the set of doctors stared between themselves and said, and after a few seconds, they just made a statement that, sorry, this is something that, not meant for you, which is a common statement I keep hearing since childhood. And I was not affected, but the subsequent statement made me, a little taken aback. Like they said, this dentistry is something that you need a lot of strength, physical strength to attempt, and you need a height to see through things and do the procedures. So I was completely, new to this, ignorant to all of this dentistry, but I have gone through a lot of, struggle to get through the common entrance, so I was not giving it up. So I said, no, I cannot give it up. Then they said, they'll give me 5 minutes to discuss with my parents and come back and ask. They strongly recommended, please leave the seat so that somebody else who can really do it can take it up, and, and I went out, and one of the professor who was part of that panel came out and gave me confidence, stating that, look, first 2 years is more of theoretical, and it's a preclinical lab where we can figure it out. You have 2 years time to figure out how you are going to pursue the rest of the clinical aspects. So we all are there to help you out. So don't give up. we are there. So just go back and tell them that put your foot down and say, you want this, you will not give it up. So I took that as a, the professor is telling me, I just went ahead and put my foot down and said, but when the dean said, you have to give me a word. Even one professor comes back and gives a negative remark about your, performance, you have to step down and you have to walk out of the college, because that's the word you have to give me. So I said, yes, I accept that. So the next 4.5 years of journey, it was a 4-year plus 1 semester curriculum plus 1 year of house agency, right? So it was not easy, it was tough. A lot of things were new to me, and every stage had new things to conquer. But with the support, strong support system of some of my professors and my teachers and my parents and my sibling, I was there, I was going through, I was able to figure out my own way of achieving the procedures. So it was much more amazing, where the teachers were like surprised and shocked when I figured out my own way to, do the procedures. So the day came when I took the oath, finally. The dean who showed me, who gave me this word, he came to me. He was already retired that time. And he just congratulated me and said, you did it, you proved me wrong. So that's where I felt, okay, I've done. One part of my thing is I've achieved. So it's not about the perception that happens when people see. It's about the inner self, where if you are determined, you can figure out ways to achieve what you want. So that's what the life lesson I have learned so far.
Very inspiring. Big round of applause. Yeah. I hope we have more and more such professors. Rohini, coming to you, during your entire 5-year struggle with infertility, your husband and you came across several challenges, and I've read your book, so I know what those challenges were. Was there any moment where you felt that this is tough, this is not happening, or did you doubt the institution of marriage, or something to that effect?
So before I talk about my marriage, of course, infertility took its toll on everything in my life, not just my marriage, my sense of self-worth, self-esteem, my identity as a person. But I'd like to talk a little bit about human biology. So this is the way human reproduction works, if you look at it, that most of the action takes place inside the woman's body. So be it fertilization, to implantation, to pregnancy, labor, childbirth, everything happens in the woman's body, and that is the vehicle for human reproduction. Once the male partner contributes his DNA, there isn't a lot for the male partner to do. And when there is some trouble with conceiving, the female body also becomes the site for all interventions. So the female body is subject to a number of procedures. So when I was going through infertility, I found myself taking pills every day, taking shots every day. I was going to the hospital every other day for my ultrasounds and for all kinds of gynec procedures. And this caused a lot of resentment and friction in the marriage, because I felt that I bore the brunt of all these procedures and my husband didn't have a lot to do. He was just watching from the sidelines. He was a very passive observer. And I felt like he could carry on with his day and with his life, while I didn't have the luxury of not thinking about it even for an hour. So this obviously led to a lot of fights and arguments in the marriage. And I remember once when we had this argument, my husband said in a fit of frustration, he said, if I could take a shot for you, I would. If I could take a pill for you, I would. And if I could stand in for you in some way, then I would do that. But you do realize that I'm helpless and I'm not able to do that. So that sort of hit home, and that was a day that I thought that it's hard for him also. It is hard in a different way, but it is hard to be this helpless and this vulnerable. That brought some understanding, not that it was some magical moment of clarity and understanding and everything was great in the marriage after that. That tension continued to dominate the marriage for some time, and it did take a toll on the relationship. The feeling that one person is not doing enough and the other person has to do a lot more. But I think at some point there was a level of acceptance and understanding that this is unfair and this is unequal, and there is somewhere else that maybe the partner will be able to contribute. So that's how things panned out for us, and we survived.
her husband is there in the audience recording this entire session. Big round of applause to both of you, Rohini, and to you as well. Moving on, Lakshmi, your parents played a huge role in not only ensuring that you have a nurturing environment at home, but also at school. And there have been moments when they had to confront the principal or the authorities for some reason or the other. I remember one such case is perhaps which has been taken from your life is that the sports thing that happened in Dia's school, and she is not allowed to participate in it. I am guessing it is based on your own experience. Now, what I want to ask you is any important tip or tips that you would like to share with the parents here, especially parents of differently abled children. They must convey through their words and actions for the child to become strong, confident, and an happy adult.
So that is the major part which I have tried to convey in most of my stories, starting from small initiative, new beginning, and dreams and perspectives, right? So each story has its own, reason why I picked it up, and even the title very carefully, because that's what the thought is all about. And coming to the disability part, first let's understand what that aspect, which is the new beginning story, which conveys most of the answers for the question. Like, see, disability is something that I have a different opinion, because every child has its own, have their own strengths.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. I strongly believe. It's just that, sometimes it is obvious, sometimes it's not. So it is the major aspect which every caregiver, be it a parent, be it somebody who's close to the child, should understand and take things for, as it comes. One thing I just wanted to say is it's not easy, as I say, like it's very difficult because each case is different, and more than the child, the caregivers, like especially parents, goes through much more stress in handling a physically disabled child. They have to, understand first what is going on. They are always on an anxiety mode where they wanted to figure out something that will make the child become as close to normal, like, and they are always in a situation where they are depressed that the child is not able to be at par like any other child. They are already stressed when how the society is going to deal with this child, and how the child will be able to cope up in future. And on the contrary, there are other aspects where they would have had a lot of dreams and aspirations about themselves, which they have to set aside and contribute more time for the child, right? So all this is like a continuous process where the parents are always on a mode of a negativity. So that will definitely, impact the child also and the surroundings. So one thing I feel, it is not easy, it has never been easy. We have to take a step back and decide what are we doing in this life. Are we trying to do something good or something that will result in some kind of a positive outcome? So that's where the parents has to take a step back, and they have to figure out, okay, I need to live for myself. I need to give the best for my child. That's what every parent wants to do it. But for that, they have to come down, understand what the child is capable of, what the child really needs. Child will have more lot of desires, whether the desire can be converted into the capabilities, or what best can be done to make the child comfortable, make the child happy. So that, and the work towards that should start today. It is a one step at a time. You can't expect, the drastic change to happen in a week's time. You define 6 months is the time. No, everything happens differently for differently abled. So today, but the start has to happen at this moment. So for that, I think the parent has to change their thought process in such a way that I am trying my best.
What's the best way to change your mindset? How do parents, such parents, cope with this anxiety and emotional distress that they go through every day in a routine life? Anything in very short words, because we are...
Yeah. So I think, see, it's not going to be easy, as I said.
Yeah.
So first thing is to cut down those thought process. If you're not able to do it by yourself, it's better to take a professional help,
Yeah.
which is very vital these days, and it is very critical for not only the mental health of the parents, but also to make that less impact the children. Children's mental health is also important. So ultimately the aim should be to give them the comfort. Give them the comfort,
And the confidence.
and confidence to sit with the child, understand what the child needs, provide them the freedom to talk, provide them, channelize their thoughts in the right direction, and bring out the best. And it will take time, but ultimately that's the only mantra that can, you can try.
And perhaps give them alternatives. If you can't do this, let's try plan B.
Exactly.
Or plan C.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And coming to you, Rohini, we have about 5 minutes more. So if I request you to keep it short. Apart from showcasing your journey from infertility to motherhood, this book also raises several questions about motherhood decisions and female agency in a traditional society like ours. Please share a bit about that.
So before I talk about that, I want to talk a little bit about desire, the desire to become a mother. I don't think I ever actively desired motherhood, now that I look back. It was a template that had been handed down to me by my family. And there were other things in that template, like going to college, graduating, getting a job, getting married. And this is one of those milestones. So I was blindly adhering to that template when we tried to conceive. It was only when I started experiencing some difficulty in conceiving that there was some discomfort with the template. But even then, even when I was in the middle of, immersed in the deep waters of infertility, my thought was only, how do I get past this? How do I cross this fence and go to the other side? How do I comply? How do I belong? That was the overriding impulse and the overriding urge within me. So I never really questioned my conditioning or questioned norms around motherhood. And that also is reflected in the aggression and the urgency with which I countered infertility. I tried all the assisted reproductive technologies available. I put myself through multiple cycles of IVFs and IUIs because I was so desperate to not be an outlier. It was only much later in the writing of the book and after I'd had, and only through the prism of success actually, that I began to question the template and the ideas around motherhood.
Do you think it wouldn't have happened if you had failed or something?
I hope that I would have questioned the conditioning either way, but I'm just talking about my my journey, the trajectory through which I arrived at this. And it clearly, I mean, it goes without saying that this equation of motherhood to womanhood and the idea that a woman is not complete unless she becomes a mother or is in some way failed her purpose in life if she's not become a mother, clearly is something that is it was so deeply ingrained in me, and that is clearly something that needs to go, and it needs to change in our society. And I think that is why we need more and more sharing of personal stories like this. This is how we question the norms and the templates that have been handed down to us. And this is how we can have a more authentic and a more nuanced response and a more nuanced way of leading our own lives. So I blindly followed that template and executed it. Would I have done things differently if I had not had these ideas? I don't know. And I want to acknowledge, I want to say this even while acknowledging the kind of fulfillment that motherhood has brought in my life. Even while acknowledging that, I would want to say that it cannot be a mandatory imposition for every person. And we need more and more stories like this so that we can make a more informed and a more authentic choice about our own lives.
And feel comfortable about it.
Exactly.
Be comfortable with it.
Sometimes even when you have the courage to deviate from the norm, you are called upon to explain it, to defend it, to justify it in front of society, which is also
and that's
damaging.
Not required. What
that
you're saying is,
why
should we justify our stance, what we want or what
exactly.
we don't want to do with our bodies? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we've just got 1 minute, I think. 2 minutes. So we can take a couple of audience questions. Anyone? Any jokes will also do. family jokes. Yes, please.
Hey, hi. My question is to you actually. So from what you told towards the end, what I kind of understood was you do come from a conservative family because you talk about template, right? Like we go through these journeys or stages. So what struck my mind was how did you take that step to write a book? It's a very brave thing to do. So kudos to that. But I was curious how you were able to put that story up front, in front, knowing that it's going to come out to the larger audience when you come from that background, and how are you able to break that mold for yourself? So I was curious about that.
No, because I was very confident that no one would read it. So, so with that confidence, I started writing. And I thought the maximum audience this book will have is 5 people, and they're in my life, with or without the book, so it really doesn't matter. But then it just kept, I kept reaching more and more people. Sometimes you have to start something without thinking too much about, the consequences or the long term, and just do it.
Yeah.
And later on, things will
That's how
pan
you
out.
write books.
That's how, yeah.
Otherwise, you won't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just one thing, I'd also like to say that my family has been very supportive, and they've all obviously
Okay.
read the book. And I have not faced any kind of, censoring or any kind of criticism from the family to leave out details or, or even about the title. So I truly appreciate that. One has to give credit, when the family is there for you. Right?
That matters.
Thank you. Any other questions? One more, right? We can take one more? Or no? Done? Oh, all right. Okay, there is a question. Maybe if it's a short one, keep it short, please.
Yeah, hi. So this is more to do with the writing process. So when you generally write something this personal, there is a thin line between it being too personal and getting too ranty, and there are these. How do you like deal with those challenges?
Writing challenges.
Yeah, I think rewrite. So the first draft is usually very ranty and very incoherent. And I think over a period of time, you keep refining it and you seek feedback from beta readers. It's a long process. But I think the writing also helped me process the emotions and process all the feelings that I had during infertility. So it was a very therapeutic exercise for me. Yeah, but we can discuss this offline if we are running out of time.
Yeah. Lakshmi, do you want to add one word, one last word to respond to the lady there about writing process?
So I think I agree with Rohini. It's more of a trial and error, and you want to think that who should read this book, and the target audience should be clear. You should have it in mind. And for me, I took almost 6 years because I've been rewriting the book every time when I read it again. I found okay, I can make it different. So at the end of the day, it all depends on how you want to present your facts, how well it can be read through, and you'll have to do a little bit of understanding about the audience also, and maybe that will be helpful.